let me see if this stream is properly visible or not. So give me 1 second. मेरे चैनल पे ही ऐड आ जाता है यार. ठीक है. Okay, I think this is properly visible. Wow, it's been an amazing week. I'm sure that everyone is really excited for today's live stream. It's a big day for our channel. Why? This is the first time that we are going to host one of the amazing people who has been the director of a company, who is the director of the company, which is currently, oh my God, I'm running out of words. I'm so excited. So उनका IPO अभी आया है market में. It's open right now. I mean, it's a complete big rainfall of IPOs. 4 IPOs back to back. All IPOs are there lined up. There are so many people who are really confused that out of these 4, which one shall I apply? And for that, as usual, like everyone knows, we love detailed analysis. ऐसे मन ही नहीं भरता if we do just time pass analysis, this and that, little 2-3 lines we talked about every company, then it doesn't give that yes wala feeling, right? So I thought that doing all 4 back to back will be a big task. Let's choose one. For others, I thought, just in case if you want to read more about that, for others, I've also written a blog on my website, which is rachanaranade.com. So whenever time permits, you can go on the blog, check it out. As of now, what we are going to do, instead of what we do on our channel regularly, step number 1, we try to understand what is the business all about. Step number 2, we try and analyze any specific strategies the business has developed or not. Step number 3, we try to do an industry and economy analysis. Step number 4, we try to see the financials of the company. Step number 5, we try to check out any risks are involved in the company or not. Step number 6, we try to see what are the valuations of the company, and based on all these points, then we decide whether I, as a retail individual investor, I am interested in this IPO or not. Okay. But till date, what I have been doing is that just give my own analysis. But I thought, what amazing it will be if we have the director of the company himself on our channel to speak more about the company, to speak more about, in detail, I can say, about the company. Because what happens, I'll tell you. For us, we just read the RHP, we just read the red herring prospectus, or sometimes before the RHP is released, we go through the DRHP and we try to build our own thought process, right? So there's a gap which sometimes I feel it happens, right? So for example, if I read the balance sheet, if I read the P&L, sometimes it might happen that my thought process is different, my perspective is different, right? But the management's thought process is equally important. The management's perspective is equally important, right? So, otherwise, हम तो हमारा analysis करते ही है, no doubts about that. But I thought that let us give this a shot. Let us try this for the very first time. That why not try and hear about the company from the director himself. Okay, so we are going to have him on our show, no doubt about that. But before he comes live, let me give a big welcome to everyone. I mean, it's amazing to see that, as usual, it's nothing new, but as usual we have 2,000 people who are on the live stream right now. Many people joining the membership, pro investor membership, student membership. So a big welcome to everyone. And I'm happy that everyone is here to check out or to listen to the management of the company, to listen to what they have to say about the company. We are going to do the analysis in our normal style, okay? But instead of me telling the answers, this time I'm going to be firing only the questions, and we are going to hear the answers from none other than Mr. Yash Mutha, who is the director of the company. So let me welcome Mr. Mutha to our channel. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good, Rachana. How are you?
I'm doing good. So glad. I'm really happy that you are here. As I mentioned on the stream, this is the very first time that we are having someone from the management to decode the IPO. It's a big moment for all of my viewers and for me as well. How do you feel about coming on my channel, sir?
Likewise, I think it's indeed a pleasure to be hosted on your platform. I think you've been doing an amazing work, having almost close to 3 million subscriber. I know you talk about numbers. I think that itself is a great achievement. So really, congratulations to you, and it's
Thank
a pleasure for us also to get hosted on your platform.
अमेझिंग अमेझिंग सर आय हर्ड तुम्ही पुण्याचे आहात
Of course, मी पण पुणेरी आहे. Born and raised from Pune.
Okay, okay. We'll keep Marathi at the end maybe because otherwise people will be like, "Asa kasa kai?" We are not able to understand important points about the business, right? So
Surely.
Marathi will keep at the end, right? Okay. So without wasting a lot of time, I think let's get started, right?
Sure.
Sir, I have listed out a few questions for you, sir. And as I mentioned, what we do on our channel is that there's a specific pattern through which we analyze the IPOs. So
Sure.
first, generally, what we try to do is try and understand the business, right? So whenever we hear the word diagnostics, then generally what a layman can visualize is something like a pathology lab, blood test, urine test. So is your business going much more beyond than the routine tests that a normal man can think of? Could you just explain what sort of services do you provide?
Certainly. Today Krsnaa Diagnostics is one of the fastest growing differentiated diagnostics company. When I mean differentiated, as you rightly said, most of the players in the industry today have been focusing on pathology, whereas Krsnaa focuses on radiology and pathology as well as teleradiology. So radiology is typically, your CT scans, the MRIs, MRI scans and X-rays, and the pathologies, as you mentioned about, the lab test, including RT-PCR nowadays. And teleradiology is a new emerging concept, which Krsnaa is again one of the pioneering companies in having a network of more than 1,800 centers where even in the remotest location where you have an X-ray scan or a CT scan or an MRI, where there is no qualified radiologist who can't visit these locations, using the concept of technology, which is teleradiology, these images are, the CT scan, MRI, X-ray images are transmitted to our hub in Pune, which is operational 24 by 7, 365 days a year, and backed by 190 plus MBBS MD radiologists who work with us. And these images are then analyzed by these radiologists, and then they are reported back and given to the centers within 45 minutes to 2 hours. Which creates a huge impact in the lives of people by providing them quality diagnostics within the shortest time possible. So Krsnaa, in a way, is a fully integrated diagnostics company, having radiology as one of its key verticals of revenue, along with pathology and teleradiology.
Got it perfectly, because that's what I feel, that the very first thing we need to understand is what does the company do. Unless and until we don't know about it, then doesn't make sense to go into the financials
Of course,
and check out the revenue and PAT numbers and all that, right?
of course, yes,
So
yes,
I read in your RHP as well, like you also pointed out that there can be certain areas which are not really well connected, and because of
correct.
third service that you mentioned right now, I guess teleradiology service is what you mentioned right now. With that, I guess you are really connected very well to tier 2, tier 3 cities as well. So is there any specific reason why you are focusing more on tier 2, tier 3 cities rather than big cities as such?
Yes.
Any reason specific?
Yeah, the reason is this was one of the founding reasons set up by our visionary promoter and chairman, Mr. Rajendra Mutha, when he conceptualized about Krsnaa. He also comes from an humble background, and when he saw the pains that a common man or people from middle income families or lower income families, when they have to avail these diagnostic tests, they have to pay high prices, and especially if you go to away from the cities or metros, there is very limited access to quality diagnostics, and this is where he thought, that if Krsnaa can come up with a model where we can provide quality diagnostics at attractive rates. This can really not only serve the people, but also can be created into a good business model. And this is what we started off the journey with. And today we are proud to say that, we are spread across 14 states, right from Jammu and Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Maharashtra to Meghalaya, Manipur and Assam. So right across the length and breadth of the country, we are present through these 1,800 centers, providing quality diagnostics. Now, if you see today, most of the players, they're concentrating in urban metros and cities, because they follow the asset light model where they get their desired footfalls. Whereas Krsnaa chose to not, we are also present in metros, we are present in Mumbai, Pune, Thane, Kalyan, Dombivli, as well as in places like Simla, Kulu, Manali, Kolar, Tumkur. For example, Kolar and Tumkuru, which are two districts in Karnataka, They were erstwhile gold mines having beautiful Victorian era hospitals. But these people used to travel from to Bengaluru, which is an equidistant from both these districts. Paying high charges for travel and high charges for accommodation. But when Krsnaa, through the PPP model, deployed 14 CT scans and 5 MRIs across the state of Karnataka, these people don't have to go and travel these far places to get their diagnostic test done. They get it at their doorstep. In fact, for most of the people who come from the lower income family, they get it absolutely free under the free diagnosis scheme launched by the government. So this is where we saw huge potential. Also, at the same time, we like to create a high social impact by providing quality services at attractive rates. And this was the founding principle why we decided to not only just focus on metros, but areas where there is a real need of providing quality diagnostics. And this is where Krsnaa finds itself in the sweet spot.
True, true. Amazing. So right now, I guess you mentioned about PPP model, and my next question is about that only. That while I was trying to analyze your business model, it gave me a feeling that your business is fundamentally different. It's a fundamentally bit different from your listed peers. So
Correct.
I have jotted down 2 3 points where I feel that your business is a shade different as compared to your peers. Number one is the PPP model.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is the asset ownership model.
Right.
And number three is the discounted pricing model. So when I was checking the RHP, I found that, and even few more websites on the internet, when I was checking, I found that your prices are almost 40 to 70% discount as
Yes.
compared to peers, and still you are in profit. And iske piche ka
Yes.
raaz kya hai? I just wanted to know more about that.
No, again, as I said, the reasons why we chose to provide at these attractive rates goes back to our founding principles. You rightly said today, Krsnaa focuses largely on PPP. We have almost 65% plus revenues coming from the PPP side of the business. Essentially, our model is hospital partnerships. We
Mhm.
enter into partnerships with private hospitals as well as with public hospitals. The reason we
Okay.
do that is because when Mr. Mutha, the chairman, was looking at setting up the business, he realized that if one had to establish business, the setting up in hospital has many advantages. You get captive
Mhm.
customers from day one. There is very limited marketing spends. There are a host of other cost synergies. So essentially, all these costs get kind of reduced, and basically you can offer the same services at these discounted prices. So today,
Mhm.
yes, all prices across the country, they are almost 40 to 80% lower than the market rate. Just to give an example, in Mumbai, for at one of our centers, like in Jogeshwari, we charge for an MRI just 2,500 rupees, right? And that's the kind of price. Whereas if you go to anywhere else, it will be at least 7,000 rupees to 8,000 rupees without without compromising on the quality. The equipments that we use are best in class equipments from top of the vendors. All our equipments are under CMC, which is comprehensive maintenance contract, ensuring that the life of these equipments is serviced by. I mean, the equipments are maintained and serviced by the OEM vendors, ensuring long useful life as well as high uptime. So this all goes in fact in even our centers, and we'd love to host you. You can come and visit our center in Pune, where you can see even within a municipal corporation hospital, we invest in the center, whether it is the interiors, the ambience, to give the same unique experience that any person would expect from a quality diagnostic center. So all this goes into our model, which makes it a very unique and differentiated model, and which also basically helps the customers and patients to get quality diagnostics.
Absolutely. I'd surely like to visit, but not for diagnosing anything for my health, I
No,
guess.
no, just for a visit. Yes.
I just kidding. Uh, well, in the meanwhile, I just got 1 or 2 comments. They say we cannot, the audio is not that clear. People, could you just give a quick thumbs up? Could you just tell me quickly whether you're able to hear it properly or not? Just got 1 or 2. We can hear no issues. Perfect, perfect, perfect.
Okay.
Just wanted to check on that. Also, I've got 1 or 2 questions, sir, about the sudden rise in the profitability. I'm going to ask you about that as well. Even
Sure.
that had stuck my attention, but again, that goes into the financial analysis part. I'm sure many people have that one doubt where, when we check 3 years profitability, sudden jump this year, we will
Yes.
talk
Yes.
about that. But I think that doesn't fit into my analysis sequence. So let's stick to my sequence if you're okay with that.
Of course. Of
So
course.
perfect, perfect. So for my viewers, could you just explain in very brief what exactly is the PPP model? Many of the
Sure.
newbies might not be really aware about that.
Yeah. PPP model is essentially, where government publishes tenders. These tenders are all published online, where bidders like us are expected to participate and submit the documents. These are all online processes where documents have to be submitted using digital keys, ensuring high level of encryption of the documents that are being uploaded. There are normally, two rounds. One is the technical evaluation round, and the other is the financial bids. Again, in both the cases, you are expected to submit documents. You have to quote prices for the CT scan, MRI, or pathology test. These prices are normally benchmarked to the CGHS rates or the central government health scheme rates, which are anyways 30 to 40% lower than the market rates. And after you submit your bids, the evaluation is done. The results are all again published online, where every bidder can see, who has moved to the next phase, which one have been rejected. On top
Oh,
of it, all these tenders today are managed by consulting firms, the top four firms, large consulting firms, ensuring, these are very professional firms and very ruthless when it comes to timelines and submission of the documents. So after you submit the bids, and if you qualify, and if your prices are typically L1 or the lowest, you're awarded the tender. And then the government basically gives you a bare shell space, where we have to go and install these equipments, do the civil and interior works, deploy the human resources, and provide services to the patients who walk into our centers. So that's
got it.
essentially how the PPP model works. Of course, these PPP are driven by National Health Mission, which is a central body, and in combination with the state government, they dole out these tenders.
Got it. But if that be so, if government is involved in this, is a major, can I say, like a client for your business?
In a way, yes, they
In a
are a
way, yes. Right.
stakeholder.
So, if I can ask,
Yes.
how much percentage revenue is generated through this segment?
So today, PPP constitutes almost 65% plus of our revenues.
Mhm. Uh, if that be so, is there any? I mean, this is again from the layman perspective point of view. Again,
Sure,
is
sure.
I mean, do you face any difficulties in recovering these dues from the government? Because एक layman के दिमाग में हमेशा ये होता है that if money is receivable from the government, then maybe it might take some time. Is a common man's perception. So how does it work for you, sir?
No, no, absolutely. I think it's a very valid question, and it's not the first time you've been asking. So we've been hearing this many a times. One of the reasons why, today, if you see, our receivables have been well within 100 days, and we've had no bad debts in the book so far. The reason being is Krishna has been very transparent right from day one. In terms of, like, we are the first probably company to publish a digital dashboard where the number of scans that we do, the age profile, the gender mix of the patients, all of this is published in a real-time dashboard, which is then linked to the chief minister or the health minister's dashboard, and we give them access to see the number of cases that we're doing in real time, which also brings in a lot of transparency and trust on both the sides. Secondly, healthcare is a very sensitive sector to the government because these are life essential services. Imagine if government doesn't pay us on time, as a result of which, if the services had to be disrupted, it's almost a law, could lead loss of life. So government is also aware of this. In fact, during COVID also, if you've seen, it was government who would actually, whether it was the government hospitals or the COVID, after all the private hospitals have failed, it was the people used to go to government hospitals to, get the necessary care. So government is aware of this. And in fact, the reason, like I said, with NHM coming in play, with the state governments, with these various consulting firms or big fours audits going on, the transparency in the tendering process. So there is a earnest interest as well as intent to provide or make the payments. And if you're doing quality work, see, for example, when we do, our equipments are best in class, from the top of the vendor, the centers look and feel everything is as good as any quality diagnostic centers, backed by technology like teleradiology, backed by 190 plus MBBS MD radiologist. When all of this is good and the prices are attractive, there is no reason why government will shy from paying, and that is one of the reasons why we don't see any risk in receiving our payments. Of course, there are delays, there are procedural delays, but that doesn't really. It's part of the business, the way we've evolved over the years.
True, true. You just mentioned about the corona scenario right now. So, may I ask that has corona pandemic given a specific push in a positive way for the top line of your company, for the revenues of your company?
Yes, for FY21, there was, it impacted our revenues as well for the non-COVID side of the business, like the first 2 quarters, when there was a severe lockdown, it did impact us. But again, Krishna has the ability to scale up rapidly. We are a little bit late in terms of setting up COVID labs. But once we did that, within this fiscal year, we've done more than 9 lakh RT-PCR tests. and that too within government hospitals, like having an ICMR accredited labs within municipal corporation hospitals, and even at rates which are lower. I mean, when the initial rates were at 4,500, Krishna was charging 2,200 to ensure that again we follow with the same model, and using the best in class kits and equipments, using one of the top rated vendors globally. We use their kits, which is like Thermo Fisher, as both from equipment as well as kits. So we've always ensured that the quality is paramount, and which has also helped us gain revenues. So yes, COVID did contribute almost close to 147 crores in our top line. But going forward, we don't consider COVID as a regular business. For us, it's more like a one-off business. We're very confident and on our non-COVID business, which is again back on track, and whatever we've planned for this year, we expect that to continue.
Amazing. So I guess we have discussed quite a bit about the business. I'm sure everyone now who is watching the stream, more than 3,000 people watching the stream right now, all have really understood very well what is the exact nature of the company. We did understand what is PPP in very simple words. We also did understand that a good amount of revenue is generated from the government, this PPP model. But a good side, a better side of that is that in spite of a major chunk coming from this model, the debtors receivable basically is not a big problem as such. It is very
Yes.
well, I guess you mentioned roughly around 100 days, isn't it?
Yeah, it's less than 100 days. So normally around 90 days is what we manage. Yes.
Perfect. So I think we have understood quite well about the overall business about the company. So I think we can move on to industry analysis as well. Uh, so if I talk about the diagnostic center, whatever I can say, sector, let us say, entire diagnostic sector in India versus diagnostic sector abroad. So generally what I do on the channel is that I compare that at what CAGR has the diagnostic sector as a whole been increasing for the
Mhm.
past few years versus how has it been increasing abroad, and if any study is available with you that how it is
Sure.
expected to grow in the coming years.
See, I think globally the diagnostic industry has been growing at a CAGR of almost close to around 5%, whereas in India it has been growing between anywhere 11 to 15%. There are different reports. The recent CRISIL report talked about 15%, and we see that reason also because given the population in the country, the changing lifestyles, again. The disease like the pandemic, all of this has kind of created an awareness in the minds of people where quality diagnosis is paramount, for better treatment, because only once you're able to do a better diagnosis, you know what kind of treatment to be followed, and that is where people are becoming aware of more diagnostics services, and this is where we see good growth coming up even in the future. So I think from an overall industry perspective, we see at a overall industry level almost 15% growth. Within that, radiology is growing at a faster pace. Radiology, which was earlier 41% share in the overall diagnostic industry, that is expected to go up to 44%. Again, after COVID, radiology has gained importance. Especially people would know, many would have done HRCT, which is a chest scan that is required if people were infected with COVID. So after RT-PCR, which is taking your swab, then people were also required to get an HRCT done, if they had certain complications. So we also see radiology gaining a lot of importance. MRI is nowadays used for various cases, including tissue, to see what's happening at the tissue level, like mucormycosis and all these kind of cases. So we certainly see that there's a strong positive outlook for the overall diagnostic industry as such. And given India's population base and untapped territories, like I said, most of these towns and cities, they do not have really quality diagnostic or healthcare facilities. So from that direction, we see it's a positive outlook for the overall industry.
Absolutely, very well said. In fact, a little bit of whatever I had not, I mean, this is not in my questions list, but I just received a joke in between while I was going. I mean, it's hilarious for me right now to read it out. But it said that comparison between two IPOs which have come up right now. The first one tells you to eat a lot of burgers and all other food, junk food stuff. And the second one says, get yourself checked. And that's why revenue model for both is very good.
Correct. I think that's where people should put their money, where it helps to take care of their health. So
Well said, well said. All right, so I think we are done with a base understanding of the industry analysis as well. Shall we move on to the financial analysis part?
of course, yes.
I think this is the question which has been asked in the chat box the highest number of times, and I think that was my question as well. That the sudden jump in the revenue. So I had put it in a specific way. The sudden jump in revenue, what I could see was that there was something known as a CCPS adjustment, right?
Correct.
So, to what I understand, it's like a one-time accounting charge that
Correct.
impacts the bottom line. Okay, but being a CA, I can understand it, but I'm sure majority of them might not even understand what's a CCPS. It's a compulsory convertible preference share. Okay, so
Right.
like we have equity shares, we have preference shares as well, right? And preference shares, maybe there are various types of preference shares. We are talking about a convertible preference share. So because of that, I think there has been an impact on the bottom line. So could you please just
Of course.
explain in
Yes.
simple words so that everyone can understand what is
Yes.
the
Yes.
yes, please.
No, no, I think it's a very valid point, and not you, but almost everyone has been asking about it. And in our opinion, this was purely an accounting charge, which is not the true reflection of the operations of the company. I'll just explain to you. So
Mhm.
essentially, Krishna has had raised money from private equity investors in the past, and whenever any investor comes on board, they prefer to subscribe or prescribe to a CCPS or a preference shares because it gives them certain preferential rights over a normal equity share. Now,
Okay.
typically, when these investors come on board, they have certain conditions, that you have to fulfill, and as a result of which, the CCPS, when the company had to adopt India's accounting standards, which is required, which is like the global IFRS standards. So, when the company had to adopt India's, the auditors took a evaluation of this CCPS, and that is where it was realized that the CCPS had certain clauses, as a result of which the CCPS could not be converted into equity shares on a 1:1 basis. Now, when that
Okay.
happens, then the accounting standards say that you have to treat the CCPS as a preference share liability. You have to value
Hmm.
it at each balance sheet date at a fair market value, which is done
Mhm.
through a registered valuer, and the changes have to be routed through a P&L. So, if you see in
Got it.
the financial year 19 and 20, there will be a charge on the profit and loss account. Now,
Mhm.
last year, when the first COVID wave hit us, and Krishna was in one of our board meetings when we were discussing this. The
Mhm.
auditors also kind of highlighted that Krishna will now be required to follow Ind AS because we were crossing the revenue thresholds and the other regulatory thresholds, and that is
Mhm.
where, given our track record on the performance, the investors waived such conditions which were causing this. Impact on CCPS, as a result of which in the FY21 financials you see a reversal, and which basically gets classified as an income
Yeah.
in the financial statements. So these are purely accounting charges. In the RHP, there is a section called as other financial information, where we've
Mhm.
clearly shown what is the true EBITDA of the company. And if you see, over the last 3 years, we've maintained or achieved an average EBITDA of around close to 30%. And that is what at a company level we do. We are generating the same level of EBITDA like your other players, in spite of us, our prices being almost 40 to 80% lower.
Nice, nice. So, all in all, those who did not understand anything about Ind AS and all that, it's okay. It happens. So, you just need to understand that this is an accounting entry which has
Yes.
happened. Okay. And if I'm not wrong, it's going to be a one time accounting adjustment, right?
Yes. Yes.
So,
So what?
right?
Yeah. What happens is now, before RHP, anyways, all the CCPS has to be converted into equity, which has been done. So going forward, you won't see such accounting charges because now they have been fully converted. Now you will
Okay.
see steady state, business, steady state revenues, and steady state EBITDA of around close to 30% and even higher as we grow along in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. So I think half of the questions from the chat section are gone only because of this answer, and now people will understand why could we see a big jump
Correct.
in the
Yeah.
bottom line, right? One question which I personally felt a little bit confused about or a little bit worried about is what I can say. I was checking out the promoters holding, and
Hmm.
post issue promoter holding is going to be at around 27%, is what I read,
Sure.
right? So
Yes.
again, a typical retail individual investor always has that feeling that if the promoter holding is high, then I feel more secure. So how should people look at a 27% promoter holding, which ideally to a layman is comparatively a lower holding?
Sure.
What would you have to say on that?
Yeah. See, first of all, the reason also why the holding has come down is because, as you see today, this business that we have entered into, which is radiology focused, is a capital intensive business. So, as
True.
and when we require to raise money, we got private equity investors where we've given a little bit of the shares of the promoter to these investors because they have put in their money, and we also want to create value for them. That is the reason why the dilution has happened. Now, in terms of the shareholding of the promoter being low, even if you see, Infosys, the promoters have a shareholding of just about 12% or 9%, right? So it really doesn't matter if the promoter is passionate and they have a good, solid business model, aspirations for growth, a clear outline for growth with emerging opportunity. I think that really matters, and that should matter to the shareholders, because at the end of the day, the investor who's built this business, who's invested his heart and soul into it, the promoter who has invested his heart and soul into it, would really want to take this to the next level. And I think that is what we all are trying to do, and we still wish to continue that journey ahead. So from my perspective, and just if I was a shareholder, based on this overall direction of the industry, the unique business model we've created, I think I would put that at a lower risk.
Absolutely. Well, talking about risks only, we also have this as a section whenever we do IPO analysis of any company, that what I mean, every business has a risk. For me, my business will also have a risk. I mean, risk is,
Of course.
we always say there are inherent risks related to each and every business, right? So could you just highlight few risks which could be a part of your business?
See, typical, like for any diagnostic industry, the risks are like any pandemic that comes in, because it's an opportunity in a way, because it opens up doors for more testing, but it also in a way kinds of creates this kind of, when there's a lockdown kind of situation. But apart from this, from an industry perspective, I don't see any significant risk. If I have to just simplify that, or, answer it in a different manner, if you see, what are the risks an industry faces? First is the risk of getting customers. Now, as I said, our model is on captive customers, where patients have to come to our centers. They come to the district hospitals, the primary health centers, the community health center. So, I wouldn't be losing my sleep over where my next customer will come from. The second bit is, the prices. There could be pricing pressures, capping, but whereas we started with the lowest price possible. So again, we are immune to any price capping that will happen, because we are at the rock bottom, and we still are able to, achieve healthy EBITDA. So from that perspective, also we don't have. From the technology or equipment perspective, the life of the equipment is 20 to 40 years. 20 years for a CT scan. For MRI, the life of the magnet is 40 years. So technology obsolescence risk is also not significant for us. And in terms of the overall industry, I think that's still, as I said, a good opportunity. So we don't expect a significant risk. But of course, there could be some operational risks, but which are manageable, and which we've, I think, over the last 10 years have mastered, and keeping this risk at the minimum.
Absolutely. Any specific litigations you feel that the retail individual investors should be aware about? If you can
Sure.
tell us about
Yes.
that as well.
See, this business of diagnostics is involves medical knowledge, technology, and there are medico-legal risks. But again, how we've mitigated that risk is, today most of these doctors who we have on board, we've taken an indemnity insurance with them, where if because it's their judgment. What we're doing is we're putting up equipments. They have to do the diagnostics. If there is an error in their judgment, there is an indemnity insurance that the company has taken, wherein they'll have to go and attend the court matters, and the company is insured to that extent. So from that perspective, even that risk has been mitigated or reduced to a significant level.
Got it. Got it. Um, so, risks, litigations done. Next one we always focus on is what are the future prospects of the company? If you can tell us about that as well.
Sure. So, as we mentioned in the RHP today, the company is raising a fresh issue of around 400 crores, which will be utilizing almost 150 crores for our projects in Punjab, where Krsnaa has won tenders for, setting up 23 CT scans and 6 MRIs across the district of Punjab. We've also won the tender for Punjab Pathology, where 30 labs and 120 collection centers have to be deployed. Along with this, even in municipal corporation hospitals, like in Mumbai, we are deploying CT scans, MRI centers, including Karnataka and rest of the places. So this is where 150 crores will be invested in establishing these centers, which will further give us additional revenues in the years to come. Along with this, we are also utilizing 147 crores to repay our debt. So the company will be a debt-free company, which gives us the ability to expand further on our own, because given the EBITDA we are generating, we'll have enough accruals to fund the further expansion. And at the same time, since the interest cost will not be there, it will also lead to improvement in profitability. And in terms of landscape, opportunity wise, as I said, with these large tenders coming up, government realizing the need to upgrade the infrastructure in the country. Just to give you a perspective, today Krsnaa is present in 66 districts across the country, whereas there are 750 districts in the country. So again, we probably just at the tip of the iceberg, and there's enough opportunity for us to take on. And government has made various announcements, like Prime Minister Modi has also mentioned of the importance of PPP player in building an Atmanirbhar Bharat, as well as converting 600 district hospitals into medical colleges. So we see that as a opportunity for us.
Got it. So all in all, if I check your financials, they look pretty solid to me. But one last concern which I felt was that I'm sorry, I'm asking a few
Sure, sure,
negative
no.
questions as well. But I feel that if it's an unbiased opinion, then I think everyone will really appreciate that. What I was checking out the valuation of the company, I personally felt that it was a little bit steep. So, may I know your thought process of why did you
Sure.
value your company at
Yes.
whatever price band we have it for?
So, if you see, this is a book building process. What typically happens here is, in this entire process, we've met many investors along with the bankers or the BRLMs. So,
Mhm.
this whole valuation is guided based on these various investor roadshows that we've had. These are typically your large mutual funds, and all of them, when they come together, they assess our business, they assess the risk, the opportunity, the landscape, the uniqueness of the model, and based on that, they have actually priced, or the price discovery was done.
Mhm.
The second way to look at it is, if you see, we are in a slightly asset heavy company. So even if you look at it from a EV to EBITDA multiple, and given the current multiples that are there in the market, I think we're still at a very attractive price. So from that perspective, and given that these are all driven by the bankers, and even if you have to look at from a combination of EV, EBITDA, and PE, we are still in our opinion attractively priced. And given the growth potential we have, I think. The valuation is justified in our opinion, which is also reflected clearly if you see the kind of anchor book that we've built with some very marquee investors, including likes of SBI Mutual Fund, ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund,
Mhm.
Tata Mutual Fund, Nippon Mutual Fund, Nomura. All of these large funds have invested during the anchor book, which also kind of gives the confidence that they have in our model, and also reflects on the valuation as such.
Amazing. So I think all in all, whatever questions I had, I'm done with my standard checklist about how to analyze the company. I felt that really it was a very knowledgeable session, and I felt that as I mentioned in the beginning of the video as well, just me reading through the document, understanding it, trying to analyze it, versus the person who has been slogging day in day out to make the company go to. Make it happen, make it larger than life category, right? So it's always amazing to hear the other side of the table
Of
when we
course,
can
yes.
get to hear from the management themselves. So
No, and I hope I was able to answer the queries to the satisfaction of your viewers as well. And we'll,
absolutely.
as I said, we'll try our best. I think for us at a company at the management level, the founding principle was Krsnaa's objective was very simple. We wanted to create a company where we provide quality diagnostics at highly attractive rates, generate employment in these far-flung places, and at the end of the day, in spite of these, we are able to create healthy profits for the company and for the stakeholders or the shareholders. I think that gives us a lot of satisfaction at the end of the day, that you're being able to achieve all of this, create a high social impact, and that makes an amazing journey for us.
Amazing, amazing. Sir, any closing remarks for our audiences who have been almost 3,500 people watching? Everyone is saying, I'm getting this feedback that it's an amazing live stream. It's a treat for us who are watching this. Thanks. Good session. I can see comments like sounds promising. One, do you mind taking one or two questions from the live stream? If
Sure. Yeah,
yeah.
unless there are, these are not something like forward-looking statements,
Yeah,
which,
yeah, absolutely,
but
absolutely. Because
I'll try to
I
answer.
mean, this
Yes,
is a learning for all my viewers that if anything you are asking is there which is not given in the prospectus, then
sure,
ideally SEBI doesn't allow this to the
correct,
management to talk about it. Okay, because otherwise it can become a bit unfair. There could be some people who can give big promises. I'm not saying this for you, sir. I'm just telling them theory, right? So it could
sure,
happen something like that. So to ensure that this doesn't happen, the management is always allowed to speak anything and everything which is there in the prospectus only. So one or two questions which I can see is that let me just check. No, this is a forward looking, any forward plans. uh, Harish asks comparable transaction price band. Any thoughts on that? Any comparable transaction? We call it as a CTM for valuation comparable transaction multiple. So any placement which was done before this IPO?
No, we did not have any kind of placement before it. We like whenever we've raised money through the private equity, that was respective valuation. But as I don't think so, there's any comparable. See again from
Okay.
a valuation perspective, it's a book building process. So whatever is
Yeah.
determined goes through the process.
True. Uh, one more question is that what percentage of revenue was from COVID related diagnostics? Because I feel many people have this question that once the COVID wave, right now it has subdued quite a bit, and if
Correct.
thankfully the third wave doesn't come up, then would it impact the revenues? Is what many people are
Sure.
asking.
Yeah. So if you see, yeah, the COVID revenues for FY21 was 147 crores out of 396 crores. That was a share of the COVID revenues. But as I mentioned in FY22 financials, we've not considered any COVID revenues, and
Mhm.
whatever numbers we had planned for, we're almost on track of it, and we see a good healthy momentum there as well. So, of
Wow.
course, I think. Once we get listed and you'll as the results get announced, people will be able to see the true achievement.
Amazing, amazing. So I think let's not. I mean, there'll be otherwise. This is just going too fast for me to even read the comments. But I think all in all, it was a wonderful session. I'm sure everyone who were watching the live stream got a very good idea about your company, and they got to hear it from the person himself who has been in, working for the company day in and day out. Any closing thoughts in Marathi, sir? You have to say this "asa kasa काय" for our viewers at least.
जसे पुण्यातली लोक आहेत चोखंदळ आहेत तशी तुमची कंपनी पण एकदम चोखंदळ आहे. अतिशय वाजवी दरात चांगल्या प्रकारची आम्ही सेवा देतो, डायग्नोस्टिक सेवा देतो. तर सगळ्यांना एकच रिक्वेस्ट आहे, आमच्या सेंटरला या, एकदा स्वतः अनुभव करा आणि मग नक्कीच तुम्ही आमच्या कंपनीमध्ये इन्व्हेस्ट कराल.
क्या बात है, क्या बात है. Very nice, very nice. So, being from Pune and Marathi, आपको आती है, तो I thought at least one or two closing sentences had to be in Marathi. So, thanks a lot, anyways, for being here. I really loved this session. Thanks a lot. People are saying we could not understand the last part. It's okay. It was only for Punekars and only for those who can understand Marathi.
Sure.
Just on a lighter note. Don't worry on that. Right?
Yeah. It was also on a lighter
Thanks a
note.
lot. Yeah. So thanks a lot, sir, once again for coming, for taking out time from your busy schedule and interacting with our viewers. I wish you all the very best for your IPO. I'm sure that you will live up to, your company will live up to all the expectations of the
Certainly.
public, right? And all the best
No.
once again.
Thank you so much, and I also equally thank you for hosting us. Thank you for your viewers. Even at this point in time in the day, they've taken time, to hear us and give time to us. So I equally appreciate and thank on behalf of the management for all the viewers for spending their time for us, and wishing everyone a good evening ahead. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, sir. I guess that's it from my side, friends. Till then, take care. Jai Hind and bye bye.
Bye bye.